Somewhere in the bowels of the city that never sleeps
Kevin McCullough, radio host with Salem Media,
is a man also not sleeping.
Syndicated radio talk show host Kevin McCullough.
And that guy would like a word with you.
Many of you know him as Nostradamus.
Of course that Kevin show is going to be great. The only thing that could be greater, of course, would be that Donald show. But we don't have that, so we have that Kevin show.
Featuring the music of Dick Tunney and the Dream in Color Orchestra. And still to come, she's America's favorite doctor. Just don't call her a cover girl, Laura Purdy, MD. And more music spotlight from Katie Nicole, not to mention Assignment Desk Weekend. And now, from Times Square, where the pizza rats drink their weight in Diet Coke and have the NutraSweet tumors to prove it, here's that Kevin!
But does anybody know how much Diet Coke that would require the pizza rats to consume? Like 80 times their weight. It's crazy. Anyway, we always have lots of fun in hour number 2 because we get started with Assignment Desk Weekend. Late on Friday, conservatives in the House approved nearly 1,500 amendments to be removed from the current defense bill. The Cut the Woke out of the military bill passed in the subcommittee 58-1 and will now proceed to the full House. Former Pentagon spokesman and current national security spokesman John Kirby responded, claiming the cuts will make the military less effective. Because we all know that Russia, China, and Iran would just quake in their boots at the sight of fighting men in dresses, not to mention the drag queen story hour dance parties every Tuesday. Here at home, first son Hunter Biden, pictured here wiping some remnants of powdered sugar off his upper lip in the West Wing Library, was relieved to find out that the Secret Service had closed the mystery of the cocaine in the White House without naming a suspect. Private security personnel from the White House confirmed to Assignment Desk Weekend that the corresponding surveillance tapes, visitors' logs, and fingerprints on the dime bag likely all matched the only known addict in the president's inner circle. But alas, the Secret Service said the mystery persists. On Friday, the president pictured here throwing dollar bills, yo, at a stripper he does not yet realize is the mother of his granddaughter, announced a $39 billion package in debt forgiveness for college loans of more than 800,000 people. Conservative media spent much of the day condemning the action as a defiance of the Supreme Court's recent ruling and authority. But in actuality, Joe Biden did so poorly in law school that it's now believed he has been forced to admit that he just has no idea what the Supreme Court actually is. Speaking of the commander-in-chief's general lack of awareness, Joe Biden got caught on camera again, trying to eat a child who is clearly afraid. No, take a look. We got some zoomed in. Look at the expression on this one's face. Look at that.
En route to Washington at this moment, but this was him wrapping up today's meeting with Nordic leaders. As you saw it here just moments ago, the president departing Helsinki, Finland.
Assignment Desk Weekend debated running this story due to what the White House claimed was a lack of evidence demonstrating any pattern of inappropriate behavior from the president in this manner. And then we at Assignment Desk Weekend opened Google. A former federal investigator is speaking out on those newly unredacted documents surrounding Dr. Anthony Fauci's early days and movements during COVID. The investigator saying that there is clear evidence of a cover-up. Journalists were naturally interested and asked him to cite an example. He referred them to a very cloudy, unclear portion of the documents where Dr. Fauci said, and I quote, "It was the gain of function. I did it. Now someone needs to go beat up Senator Rand Paul. The DOJ still said that the statement seemed to be too ambiguous to prosecute. Back to tonight's top story. Those fighting drag queens. Maybelline Makeup is expressing frustration with the mockery and outrage being leveled at the beauty company over the use of a new bearded spokesmodel. Assignment Desk Weekend is also puzzled. I mean, doesn't it seem natural that every parent wants their daughter to grow up to look like this? Assignment Desk Weekend, though, does also acknowledge that a bearded influencer might also be problematic for Maybelline's longtime slogan. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. Despite being the #1 film in America, the new Jim Caviezel film Sound of Freedom is being boycotted by some critics, New York Times, Washington Post among them. CBS 60 Minutes producers only less than 3 years ago were seen highlighting Tim Ballard's work in rescuing children from human trafficking. Tim Ballard is the character played by Jim Caviezel in the Sound of Freedom film, which is now playing in theaters near you. And now 60 Minutes has compared the story to a QAnon conspiracy. In fact, the critics laugh at the claim that any political group could ever possibly be accused of looking favorably at child trafficking. Wait, this just in. Democrats in California have just voted to successfully block a bill that would have made child trafficking a felony. In health news, the WHO has labeled aspartame a carcinogen after a study of rats confirmed it had caused cancerous tumors to appear. After translating the amount of aspartame consumed in order to cause those tumors, the WHO failed to mention it would require humans to consume nearly 2,400 Diet Cokes a month to mirror the results. Gotta love the WHO, always passing on these helpful studies. Not to mention passing on to the rest of us all of China's new novel viruses. And finally, it was an interesting, some would say, struggling week for the vice president, master linguist that she is. First, she tried her hand at explaining AI.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine that will then determine, and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions that may be made through that process.
Then she argued what it would take to help kids breathe better in the days to come.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
Turns out she even confused the interpreter for the hearing impaired. And lastly, Hillary Clinton has banned Bill from returning to Houston, Texas, where syphilis cases are on the rise by 128%. The former First Lady was overheard saying, "I think you've had your fun, William Jefferson." And that's Assignment Desk Weekend.
Hi there, it's me, your favorite president, 45.
And me, the senator from Delaware.
No, Joe, you're not a senator. Oh, what the? Anyway, we just wanted to congratulate 2 radio stations on having the smarts to bring That Kevin Show to their weekend audiences.
Well, I don't really like That Kevin Show.
I know, Joe, but it's my favorite. So thank you to the great radio station KKTX in Corpus Christi.
And WHIR in Lexington and Danville, Kentucky.
And you can always check out the highlights at That Kevin Show on Instagram and YouTube, and commercial-free versions of the whole thing on Rumble. I love Rumble.
So are we done yet? Hey, Don, have you seen Hunter's bag of powdered sugar?
No, Joe, but I heard he may have left it behind in the library.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Senator. Anyway, always fun to have you two hanging out with us on the weekend on That Kevin Show. And I do want to say thank you to WHIR in Danville and Lexington, Kentucky, reaching that entire region there in the middle of the state. And, of course, Corpus Christi, my home state of Texas, and the very, very good people at KKTX. Thank you for adding us on the radio side. Some people don't realize this. This is a show that is on 2 TV networks and over 300 radio stations every weekend.
Ready or not, we'll be right back. That Kevin